You want to try this one instead? That one must need battery.
Okay, at 6:36, the meeting of the Mountain View Wisman School District is called to order. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can I have roll call, please?
Sure. Jose Gutierrez Jr.
Ellen Wheeler, Tamara Wilson.
Laura Blakely and Trustee Coladonato let us know that he is running a few minutes late, so he's not here yet, but we'll log him in when he gets here. Okay. Oh, I didn't ask you about the agenda. Were the items that Dr. Clark was speaking to, the A and B on Section 8, being deferred until the next meeting?
So we need to take
Kathy.
off item B.
What about item A?
Item A, I can do.
Okay.
And that is the only one.
So with the
Item
exception
B.
of 8B, the resolution 1669.418 developer fee rates increase based on presented developer fee study will be deferred until our next meeting. So can I have a motion to approve the agenda with that revision?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
On a motion made by trustee Wilson, seconded by trustee Wheeler, the agenda was approved by trustee Gutierrez, trustee Wheeler, trustee Wilson, and trustee Blakely, with the exception of the item 8B will be deferred to the next meeting. Okay, thank you. Now is the time for an opportunity for members of the public to address the board concerning items on the closed session agenda. Do any members of the public wish to speak on items on the closed session agenda? Okay, then at 6:38, we will move to closed session. Now it does. Or did, yeah, I did have it.
Shouldn't.
Try to be compassionate. Look at turn to her. Apparently you owe Jose cookies, Laura.
Last time you brought cookies in, I ate
He
4
said
of them
He's like, you owe me cookies. You didn't hear him say
because he went with the majority.
Yeah, we didn't
He
know
can
which
make
way you were
cookies
gonna
himself?
go.
Greg's a walk hard. He's Joker.
You ready, Kathy?
I'm a practical man now. Not like
Okay,
all
it's
day.
7:41 PM. The meeting of the Mountain View Westminster School Board is reconvened. And I want to report that during closed session, Greg Coladinato joined us at 6:55 PM. And I need to report out that in closed session, the board, by a vote of 5-0, accepted the resignation of a certificated employee, a teacher, effective April 30th, 2018. Okay, and now we have the consent agenda. The following items will be handled with one action. However, any item may be removed from consideration by individual board members or the superintendent.
And we have a revised personnel report, is that
Oh,
correct?
yes, we do have a revised personnel report, and we have a revised personnel report. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, anyone opposed? Okay, on a motion made by trustee Coladinato and seconded by trustee Wheeler, the consent agenda was approved unanimously. Dr. Rudolph?
Good evening.
Honor and a pleasure to be here. Serve the whole community. Movement School District. Hold it? I can hold it. I'm honored and excited to serve this community and to serve our students and to be an integral part of the learning community at Graham Middle School. I look forward to hit the floor learning, and I'm excited and I can't wait to get started. And I want to thank you for the warm welcome, and I want to thank you in advance for all the help and support that you will give me, and also I want to extend the same. I said to my colleagues that we're here as a team, and we're going to help each other, and all of us are going to be very successful here. Thank you.
Joining Mr. Hermosillo as Graham Middle School Assistant Principal is Mr. Ryan Santiago. Mr. Santiago has been the principal of Therakoff Elementary for 3 years. During his time there, the school received top ranking for innovative schools in 2016 for serving low-income Hispanic students. The new RTI program was developed to extend, enrich, and intervene first instruction for students, and there was a 14% gain in math and 16% gain in English language arts test scores in the 2015-16 school year, which almost tripled the state average. Before becoming a principal, he taught for 5 years in first and third grade at Therakoff and was an instructional coach at Therakoff, Montaloma, Huff, and Landos for 3 years. He also taught at Peninsula Christian Schools in Redwood City. He has a master's degree from San Francisco State University and a bachelor's degree from San Jose State University. We're excited to have him at Graham.
Thank you and good evening. I am really honored about this next step in my educational career to support the Mountain View Wisdom School District students. As Dr. Rudolph mentioned, I've had the opportunity to serve at the elementary school at Therakoff Elementary as a teacher, as an instructional coach, and a principal. I've also had the time to learn and be with other communities such as Landos, Huff, and Montaloma as an instructional coach. I could not be more excited to join the Graham school community, to partner up with Mr. Taylor, to partner up with Michael in this new role that I have as an assistant principal of Graham Middle School. And just want to say thank you to the board and thank you to our school district. Thank you.
At Landos Elementary, I would like to introduce Ms. Heidi Galassi. Ms. Galassi has worked at Mountain View Wisdom School District since 2014, first as a middle school math teacher for 2 years, a math coach, and then was assistant principal at Graham Middle School. In the classroom, Ms. Galassi focused on implementing a blended learning platform, including small group instruction using technology-based learning, as well as teacher-led student-directed learning. She's worked as a middle school math teacher in Community School District 200 in Wheaton, Illinois for 8 years, where she was honored with the 2012-2013 Teacher of the Year Award. She has a master's degree from National Louis University and a bachelor's degree from DePaul with an L University. It's important. Welcome, Ms. Galassi.
Oh my goodness, let me put that down. There we go. Hello, I'm so excited. This is going to be a great opportunity. Currently, I'm at Graham Middle School here. This is my current school. I've heard such great things about Landos community, and I can't wait to add to it and grow with the Landos community. I went there today and met my staff, and we had some cookies, and we talked, and I met some of the children. It makes me even more excited. I'm going to meet some parents coming up, and we're going to hit the ground running for sure. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
For Ms. Strahl Elementary, I would like to introduce Mrs. Miller. Mrs. Miller is a bilingual English and Spanish dual and emergent educator from Collinswood Language Academy in Charlotte, North Carolina, where she served as a 6th grade integrated science teacher as well as a principal intern. She is a frequent professional development presenter, published author, and has experience in integrated technology and personalized learning. She has taught Spanish at East Meck High School and West Charlotte High School and Livingston College, as well as students in all grades K through 6 and 9 through 12. She is a recent fellow at the Charlotte Teachers Institute and earned a master's degree from Florida State University and a bachelor's degree from Virginia Tech. Welcome, Ms. Miller.
Good evening. Buenas tardes. I'm very excited to be a part of the Mountain View Wisman community. Very excited to get to know the Mistral community and bring out the best in everybody. So I'm ready to work as a team and get started and do some great things. Estoy lista para empezar y espero que la comunidad me ayude con todo el trabajo que tengo que hacer. Okay, gracias.
I won't be the only one for weird accent now. Just want to point that out. And finally, I would like to introduce Theracoffe Elementary's principal, Mrs. Swati Duggar. Mrs. Duggar is a bilingual English and Hindi administrator who has served as principal for Paradise Valley Engineering Academy in Morgan Hill Unified, where she led the redesign into an engineering-focused academy, including a new instructional program with the adoption of engineering and STEM-focused curriculum. She also has worked as principal of Oak Avenue Elementary, Greenfield Union, and Dean of Academic Affairs and teacher leader for James McEntee Academy in Allen Rock Union Elementary District. Ms. Duggar completed her bachelor's and master's degree in business administration in India and has a teaching credential from San Jose State University. She is currently completing a master's in education at National University. Welcome, Ms. Duggar.
Well, as you can see, I have a jump in my stride because I'm so excited to be a part of this wonderful community of Theracoffe and Mountain View Wisman. Good evening, and thank you for the warm welcome. I have to share a quote, and as you get to know me better, my life is about quotes, not the ones you see on Facebook, but the ones you read in books. And I read a quote about a book called Marines. It's Leaders Eat Last. And there's a quote in that book that Simon Sinek, he is a TED Talk person, he picked out and said, "It is not about who's in charge. It is about taking care of people in your charge." And that just resonated with me because as leaders, we have to take care of people in our charge, adults, and most importantly, little people, young students all the way from our TK classrooms all the way till high school. That's our charge, to take care of them. So by joining our school district, I hope to continue the work that you guys are already doing and add to it and continue to take care of our students the best we possibly can. Thank you for this opportunity, and I'm very excited to be a part of the Theracoffe community. Thank you.
That's all I got. I would like to get a picture of y'all over there so I can tweet it. And then I'll be back up for later.
Would you like to take a 5-minute break?
Who's going to
Take
do
a
item
2-minute
8A?
break.
Who does item 8A? Whose item is item 8A?
It's
Okay,
Dr.
I'll do it.
Ross.
It's me.
Okay.
So let's just
Fine,
take a
we can
2-minute
We
break.
can take a break.
We'll take a 2-minute break at 7:54.
That stack?
That's not very good lighting. is very harsh lighting. The noses are all going to cast long shadows.
You're in the spotlight here in the Mountain View Wisdom School District.
Where?
Right. Who's they?
But we already moved it. I know, I saw that, but we already moved it. Well, we did.
Which meeting? Next meeting? We're good.
No, mid-May. We already moved it. It's
And they're mad that we're using this room.
Okay, it's 7:56. The meeting is reconvened. And the next item on the agenda is employee organizations. Do any employee? Thank you, Emily.
Of course. I don't want to ruin your notes. Hello, good evening. I just wanted to say thank you for including our association in last night's town hall forum. And just moving forward with some of the things that were discussed at the town hall forum was moving forward to ensure that our teachers do know what to do during a lockdown or an activity or an active shooter drill. One of the parents towards the end of the town hall forum brought that to our attention. So I'm hoping that we can collaboratively work together and moving forward and perhaps taking some time out, be it in a staff meeting for about 10 or 15 minutes to pose that same question to our teachers and identify those schools that have a need for additional training. I'd also like for us to take the recommendations from Mountain View Police Department to do walkthroughs, throughout our schools, just to get a better idea and also tips as to how we can secure our schools and making sure that all of our students stay safe, and also too that our teachers and support staff know exactly what to do should an event occur, and hopefully it would never happen at our school district, but we do need to move forward and be prepared and possibly introduce those trainings as a standard with the rest of our safety plans moving forward for the school year. And also, I want to thank and congratulate the new site leaders. And so if you have any questions about the collective bargaining agreement, I'm the person to go to. So thank you and welcome to our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Were there any other employee organizations here this evening that wish to comment? No, any members of district committees? Dr. Rudolph?
First, I want to start off by echoing what Emily stated in terms of the board's leadership for taking on gun violence, not only through the resolution, but by holding the Safe Schools Town Hall meeting. We definitely will be working with MVEA, CSEA, MVPD, JAC, and the YMCA to make sure that we develop more steps to make sure that everybody is prepared and trained in the event that we have something unfortunate happen. So we're really excited about that. And Emily, thank you for your participation. The second thing I would like to say is that just two big announcements. First one is that next Tuesday, the EPTF will be convening another meeting. And so we will be in conference room D and behind the district office. And the last thing is just to remind everyone that we also have a study session coming up on April 28th at the Crittenden Innovation Center on dual immersion, which has been scheduled. So that's it.
Thank you. And did you want to say anything about the groundbreaking?
Yeah, sorry. We also are pleased to announce the groundbreaking next week, which will take place on, I believe it's the 26th. Yes, Wednesday.
Thursday.
Thursday for the new elementary school on Northwest Manhattan Avenue, which we'll be talking about later on, about the naming process that's currently under play. So,
Thank you. Okay, so now is the time for community comments. This is the time reserved for community members to address the board on items that are not on the agenda. The board and administration welcome this opportunity to listen. However, in compliance with the Brown Act, the board is not permitted to take action on non-agenda items. Speakers are requested to complete a speaker card and state their name for the record, and 4 of you have already done so. If there are additional comments after 10 minutes have elapsed, this item may be continued after all the action and discussion items are completed. Was there anybody that wanted to submit a card who didn't do so already on non-agendized items? Okay. Each of you can have 2.5 minutes then. The first speaker is Jamie Seba. Thank you. And then after that, it will be Tatiana Pavlova, Katie Crane, and Cecilia Ong. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jamie Seba. My son has been enrolled in the ISP for the past approximately 1.5 years. For various reasons, my husband and I decided that it would be best for our family to homeschool. And yet I was concerned that that decision might make it difficult for us to connect with others in our school district and our local community. I want a relationship with my school district. And when I heard about the ISP, I was so excited because it sounded like the ideal situation for us. Initially, I was a little concerned it might end up being a relatively homogeneous group. However, I was actually very impressed at how surprisingly diverse we are, particularly for our size. We come from different backgrounds, different religions, different types of families, and we represent about half a dozen different countries. We speak different languages in our homes, and our children's ages span about a decade. And yet this diverse group of students treats each other with acceptance, love, and respect. They work through their problems with compassion. They see themselves as a unit. The students and families in the ISP are a true community, and that is something to be proud of. Indeed, it's exactly what you say that you want. These are the kinds of students you praise. This is the kind of parent involvement you try to encourage us to have. Please don't shut down the ISP because you figure someone else can pay for our kids to have this education. That is not your mission as a school district, nor your responsibility to these tax-paying families. Please get to know us, and please keep us around. Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh-oh.
No, you're on.
Well, it's got a red light, though. When the ISPs closed at the end of the 1920 school year, what do you intend to do for schooling for your son?
I haven't totally decided on that yet.
Okay, do you have any options? What options are you considering?
If I want help in paying for the education, I can find a charter school. I could start my own private school, but then it's up to me to fund that.
Okay, thank you.
Tatiana Pavlova.
Yeah, it's got a red light.
Hello, my name is Tatiana, and my daughter is in the 4th grade in Montaloma, and she has been homeschooled since 2nd grade. She has been attending this program and absolutely loves it, and I love it too. I personally feel the decision to shut down this program is wrong, and I wanted to tell you why. First, this program is cost efficient. We actually save districts money. Second, the program is academically successful. Our students do well on tests. They meet standards or they exceed standards. And people want this program. I personally know a lady who wanted to enroll her kids into this program, but she was told that the program is fully packed. So that means that there is a demand for this program. This program is unique. I know there are many other options for homeschoolers, but there is a difference between those programs and our program. Students stay in this program for years. They build friendships. There is a community. And I cannot say this thing about other programs. For example, like Wild Child is very famous, popular program in this area. People come and go there, but in our program, people stay for years and they grow together. And this is important. So I kindly ask you to reconsider the decision about shutting down this program. It's easy to break something and hard to build again. And why break something that has been working so smoothly for years? Something that people need. Thank you.
Ms. Pavlova, what do you intend to do for your child's education after the 1920 school year? After 1920 school year when the ISP is closed?
I think she will be in the middle school.
Okay.
So I think I'm not sure. I'm not sure about it, but I personally feel that it's not only about my daughter, about my family. Of course, we can find other options. We can, but this program is really, really wonderful. And why go somewhere else when it's whereas it's our districts and it can fulfill our needs? Absolutely.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Katie Crane.
Hi, my name is Katie Crane, and I am a parent with a second grader in the ISP program. You voted to close this valuable program based on incorrect information that was fed to you from the district. When we email board members, we receive responses that don't answer our questions. When our ISP program teacher was finally granted a meeting to sit down with district staff, us parents carefully crafted questions that we wanted to get answers from in this face-to-face meeting. And at that meeting, they were told that they would not be answering questions because they needed time to research answers. Questions such as, why are you shutting down this successful program? So the district doesn't even know why they are closing down this program, as evidenced by that simple meeting and all of the false information that they presented to you when you voted to close it. I'm just really shocked and I'm disappointed by the lack of transparency that the district is doing with this whole closing the ISP program. And there's just a complete disregard for the families that are impacted with this decision. So it's a really thriving, wonderful, valuable program. And it's just really disappointing that this is how our district handles things.
Ms. Crane, what do you intend to do for your second grader after the 1920 school year when ISP is closed?
I don't know. We've tried to get her into Stevenson for the past 3 years and we've never gotten in, and I don't believe there's any chance of her getting in these later grades that are happening. I wish the district had more school options. There's such a demand for schools that are choice programs, and there's no option that will fit her needs and fit, what's best for her. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. None of the other options are even close to what this program is.
Thank you.
I have a question. I'm sorry. What's your neighborhood school? Is it Slater or is it Stevenson, or what would it be?
What's the what?
What will your neighborhood school be?
My neighboring school would be right now at Therakoff. When we started the program, our neighboring school would have been Bub. We lived across the street from Bub when we started the program, and that's where I attended as a kid. So I love the Bub Cubs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Madam Wilson, did you have a question?
That was my question.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Cecilia Ang. I'm a longtime Mountain View resident. My son is 4 years old, so he's not in school yet. But I grew up with parents who doesn't really involve with my growing up. I just was sent to private school my whole life. So when I have my own child, I promise myself that I want to be absolutely 100% involved in my child's education. And so I've been researching about homeschooling, and I've attended a lot of homeschool mom just to get to know like what are the options out there. And I found out that Mountain View offered this wonderful homeschool program, and the moms has been raving, either their alumni or the current parents in the homeschool, the ISP, and they're all telling me all the wonderful things about this program, the program that the stuff that you will not find in other program, like the most common one is Ocean Grove Charter School. The thing that I always hear over and over again is the community, how for some reason, because it's in Mountain View, the kids bonded. You see and the kids see each other more often than if you enroll in charter school, or you have your own private school. So I'm really interested in enrolling my son in ISP for next year, but I'm not sure how it's gonna be. I heard it's hard to get in, and I heard that you guys are going to shut it down in 2020, and I'm here just to give my comment and support on the independent study program, and I'm hoping you guys are not going to close it down, because I'm really interested in this program.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Ms. Ann, when the new school boundaries take effect, which school neighborhood will your child be in?
Probably Montaluma.
In 2 years. Montaluma, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, I have a quick question, or point of order, or point of clarification. So I would like to ask the superintendent if the questions that were posed to him at the meeting, if those were resolved or if they're pending, because I'd like to get clarification on that, because it seems like it was a little, it was presented from a certain point of view. So I'd like to get the superintendent's point on that if I'm allowed to.
Please.
So in the meeting, it was said that the district didn't know how to respond to the question of why are we closing the program for ISP? It was alleged that we don't know what we're doing in that regards, that we can't answer those types of questions. So I'd like to give you the opportunity to be able to respond on behalf of the district and mention to the community as a whole and to the board and everyone here in general, what has been done to try and answer those questions, or what can we do to better answer the questions, or what happened?
I mean, I could answer the question, but I actually wasn't in the meeting, so I'm going to defer to Ms. Geisels.
Thank you, Dr. Rudolph.
So Ms. Bauer, myself, and Ms. Lundberg met with Ms. Shauna, the teacher, and her clerk. And the questions that they answered were specifically like, why is this happening? What is the next step? And what we did is we took all the information in. I know that Dr. Rudolph has been approached by some of the parents to meet, and he and I are going to coordinate that. And then at that meeting, I intend to answer the questions. The questions were basically why, and what we were talking about is the what. What is the premise for the closure? What would we do? What next steps? How would we support? So at one point, I must very honestly tell you that there will be a point of disagreement, whether the direction of the board is to close it in 2 years. I believe that regardless of the answers that we provide, they will not be met or agreed upon. So, but we will meet, and we will meet. Dr. Rudolph and I are planning to set up a meeting. And at the time right now, we have Ms. Lundberg, who is meeting with the teacher to look at their program, to look at how they offer curriculum support. They have Tuesday meetings, I believe. So she's going to provide some much more specific overseeing of the program as far as connections with the parents. And at that time, we'll get together and we'll have a candid, honest discussion.
So just quick follow-up. So based on what I'm understanding, the questions were asked, we weren't able to respond at that moment.
No.
However, we wrote down what the questions were.
Yes, we did.
And we're investigating what the answers are.
Right.
So that we can give an accurate portrayal and understanding of where we're at with the program.
Right.
What the end goal is for the district.
Yes.
And how in partnership we can go to the next stage once we go through the 2019-2020 closure.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
So now we're moving on to the review and action portion of the meeting. And the next item on the agenda is the award of guaranteed maximum price contract, GMP, contract to Coulter Construction Incorporated for the Therakoff Elementary School Classroom Administration and Library Buildings Phase 1 project. And Dr. Rudolph, I think you're presenting on this.
Yes, I'm filling in for Dr. Clark.
And can I say, I think the people listening at home would appreciate an explanation of why your voice sounds so gravelly. I mean, we can barely
I
understand
thought it was
you
a
in
Barry
the
White
room.
impersonation.
So I think as a result of the travel that I did last week, I've had a cold over the last couple of days. And so today just happens to be the day that my voice actually got worse. But it's better than this morning when I wasn't able to talk. I know I spoke with a couple people, and Mr. Tanner gave me a cough drop to help me make it through this part. So I appreciate that. So it just happens, I guess, being in an airplane for a couple hours and being in different climate zones is what's caused this. So.
We appreciate your soldiering on.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. My best Barry White. At the January 4th, 2018 board meeting, the Board of Trustees approved the lease-leaseback delivery method in accordance with Education Code 17406 for the Therakoff Elementary School Modernization Project. Through a multi-step process, the district selected Coulter Construction Incorporated as a contractor providing the best overall value in accordance with Education Code 17406, lease-leaseback for Therakoff Elementary School Modernization Project. The Board of Trustees approved the award of the pre-construction services contract to Coulter Construction Incorporated at the March 1st, 2018 board meeting. The board is now being asked to consider for approval a GMP contract, which includes a 10% owner-controlled construction contingency to complete this construction of Therakoff Elementary Classroom, Administration and Library Buildings Increment 1 project. For the GMP contract amount, the contract guarantees to complete all work as shown on the contract drawings and included in the technical specifications, barring any unforeseeable conditions or owner requested changes for the GMP contract price.
Thank you. Trustees, any clarifying questions? Any members of the,
I had one, sorry, President Blakely. How many phases are there in the plans for Therakoff's construction of the phase 1 and 2, or?
So this is, I believe there are 2 phases. There is the administrative wing and the multi-use purpose room.
That's phase 2.
And then there is the classroom modernization, which will be part 2.
So what phase is the MUR work? It's not part of this. Doesn't look like.
No, so then that's 3.
Oh, that might be phase 3.
Okay, yes,
Okay.
sorry.
Thank
So
you.
this one, in order to bring it up to code, we have to do the administrative wings for fire code and everything else to make sure it's all tied into the system, which is why the administrative wing and the library are a part of this.
Is this also going to look at the HVAC and energy efficiency system?
Unfortunately, that it wasn't included in the original scope of work. We value engineered that out to make sure that Measure G was a balanced budget. Right now, we are currently under budget. I'm happy to report, I was talking with Dr. Clark, Castro and Mistral is actually the net average is now going to be around $3 million under. So we're pretty happy about that. But we won't be able to tell until the very end of the project what monies are left over to do HVAC upgrades. We will be bringing back in 2 meetings a request to move forward or to seek board direction on whether or not you want to move forward with solar energy, as well as looking at HVAC units. And if the board's direction is so, then I believe the next step for us would be to release an RFP and then to try and capture, because our Measure G funds, we have 3 years suspended once we take the money in. So we would try to capture some of that work with the remaining funds that are in our contingency.
Just for clarification, on page 10 of the attachment, it says the Thayer-Koff Elementary project consists of 3 phases, like you said.
Okay.
The first is preliminary services. The second is modernization of classroom admin and library buildings. And the third is modernization and expansion of the MUR.
Yeah.
So. Any other clarifying questions, trustees? Any members of the public wishing to ask questions about or speak on this topic? Other questions or comments? Do I have a motion to approve?
Sure. I move that the Board of Trustees award the GMP contract and associated site and facilities lease agreements for the Thayer-Koff Elementary School classroom administration and library buildings increment 1 project to Coulter Construction Incorporated in the amount of $6,875,029 and authorize the superintendent to sign the site and facilities lease agreements.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, and a motion made by trustee Gutierrez and seconded by trustee Wheeler. The award of guaranteed maximum price contract to Coulter Construction for Thayer-Koff Phase 1 was approved unanimously. Okay, we're skipping what was item B on the original agenda, waiting for Dr. Clark to present on that when he can be here at our next meeting. And moving on to item C, which is resolution number 1672.4/18, recognizing May 9th, 2018 as the Day of the Teacher. Ms. Geisels.
Good evening, trustees. Every year, the governor and the legislature of our state of California designate the second Wednesday in May as the Day of the Teacher. As we all know, teachers make a very crucial difference in the lives of all of our students in our district. So staff is recommending that the board approve and adopt resolution 1672.4-18, recognizing May 9th, 2018 as the Day of the Teacher. And I believe there is a resolution. So
shall we read the resolution?
Yes, and who's starting?
I'll read the first whereas and we'll just keep going on. Okay, resolution, you already said the part, resolution number 1672.4/18, recognizing May 9th, 2018 as the Day of the Teacher. Whereas education is the most vital activity we as a society undertake to ensure the well-being of the nation, and
whereas education is in large measure the result of the talent and commitment of teachers and their ability to inspire, encourage, and enlighten. And
whereas teaching is a profession characterized by skill, knowledge, discipline, tenacity, and creativity in the delivery of instruction. And
whereas teachers are a source of caring, concern, counseling, empathy, warmth, and love, and deserve recognition and gratitude for the invaluable work they do. And
whereas teachers in the Mountain View Wisman School District educate and motivate students, including those that require unique skills and compassion. And
whereas teachers in the Mountain View Wisman School District have made a crucial difference in the lives of students and are true champions for children, schools, and community.
now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Mountain View Wisman School District and the superintendent express their gratitude and command the teachers of the Mountain View Wisman School District to join the Governor and Legislature of California in designating May 9th, 2018 as Day of the Teacher. And
be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Mountain View Wisman School District and Superintendent encourage activities to recognize and honor teachers on this day.
All right.
No, I don't think so.
So do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve
Second,
Resolution 1672.4/18.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion made by trustee Caldonado and seconded by trustee Gutierrez. Resolution number 1672.4/18, recognizing May 9th, 2018 as the Day of the Teacher, was approved unanimously. Were there any members of the public? We already approved it, but did anybody want to speak on this? Okay, thank you. And I know we're all in support or we wouldn't be here. Okay, the next item on the agenda then is resolution number 1673.4/18, recognizing May 20th through 26th, 2018 as Classified School Employees Week.
Yes.
Ms.
So
Geisels?
every year, the governor and the legislator of our state of California designate the third week of May as Classified School Employees Week. As we all know, classified school employees perform valuable services which enhance our educational process and the learning of our students. So staff is recommending that the board approve and adopt resolution 1673.4-18, recognizing May 20th through the 26th, 2018 as Classified School Employees Week. And there is another resolution.
First, I'm just going to ask whether any members of the public wish to comment on this item. Okay. So whereas the week of May 20th through May 26th, 2018 has been designated by the governor and legislature of California as Classified School Employees Week, and
Whereas classified employees support and enhance the educational process by assisting instructors, transporting students, preparing nutritional meals, maintaining buildings and grounds, and performing all technical, business, clerical, and secretarial functions. And
Whereas classified school employees contribute to the establishment and promotion of a positive instructional environment and play a vital role in providing for the welfare and safety of Mountain View Wisman School District students. And
Whereas classified employees provide services that enable the Mountain View Wisman School District to respond effectively to the needs of students, parents, teachers, administrators, and the greater community. And
whereas classified employees of the Mountain View Wisman School District are deserving of special recognition for their many contributions in a wide variety of roles to the institution of public education in this county, state, and nation.
now therefore be it resolved that the Mountain View Wisman School District Board of Trustees express their gratitude and commend all classified employees for their service to the district and designate the week of May 20th through 26th, 2018 as Classified School Employees Week.
be it further resolved that the Board of Education urges the members of our community throughout this district to recognize classified employees during this week and to applaud their hard work and dedication to the success of public education.
Do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no opposition on a motion made by trustee Wheeler and seconded by trustee Gutierrez, the resolution 1673.418, recognizing May 20th through 26th as Classified School Employees Week, passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, now we shift on to the review and discussion portion of our meeting with updates for information. And the first presentation is by Ms. Vicchard regarding the science programs update.
Thank you. Good evening, board colleagues and community. I am Tara Vicchard and happy to be here tonight to share with you our district science program update. Our strategic plan, goal number 1, calls for all of our students to be prepared for high school, and that includes engaging in next generation science standards and inquiry-based instruction. Our Board of Trustees has given us a goal in addition next year to really develop a plan of action to increase our science and technology offerings at all schools. That's an important part of our work coming forward. So California adopted the Next Generation Science Standards in September of 2013. The science framework came to be in 2016, and then it was revised in February of 2017. California plans to have instructional materials for review sometime probably in November of 2018. These new standards are much more rigorous and much more engaging for students in a very different way than the old standards. And I'm not going to read any of these, but we have some examples of what our old standards called for children to understand and what our new standards are calling for children to be able to do. So we move from a system of children learning facts about science to really developing a deep understanding of the concepts and thinking scientifically. And to explain this a little bit better, we have this visual. You'll see this interwoven loop that kind of demonstrates the Next Generation Science Standards. And in that, there's essentially 3 dimensions of scientific learning. The first is the science and engineering practices, and that's what scientists do. Next is the disciplinary core ideas. That's what scientists know. And finally, we have the cross-cutting concepts. And that's how scientists think. So really what we want is for our students to do what scientists do, know what scientists know, and think how scientists think throughout all of their instruction in our science classrooms. So currently, in our elementary schools, we utilize the program called FOSS Science. We all know about our FOSS kits, and we have the 3 areas of science, earth science, life, and physical science. And the FOSS curriculum was adopted back in June 2007. And those are still utilized. Back when these FOSS kits were adopted, I'm sorry, my clicker is not moving. Thank you. Back when we adopted these FOSS curriculum, we did not have a transitional kindergarten program to be included in that adoption, but our transitional kindergarten teachers absolutely engage in science lessons on a regular basis with their students. Our elementary teachers and sites are at very different places in their learning and understanding of Next Generation Science Standards. We have some schools that have engaged in quite a bit of professional development and learning. We have some of our RTI models in which students are really engaging in NGSS aligned science lessons. And we have some schools that are getting ready to really dig in and dive in with NGSS learning. Our middle schools are in a very different place, of course, as our elementary, because our middle school teachers are science focused. And so the 2 middle school teams, along with their science coach, began their journey through Next Generation Science Standards back in 2015. And as an entire team, decided to really focus on the integrated model of science. So they're no longer just focusing on physical science in one grade level and earth science in a different grade level. We're really integrating those ideas so that they can really weave in all of those cross-cutting concepts and science and engineering practices through every lesson every day. Our middle school science teachers have done quite a bit of professional learning together. And they really collaborate to build some really fabulous science units that are NGSS aligned and a scope and sequence to take them through all 3 grade levels across both school sites so that we have some really great alignment within our district. In addition to the collaboration across town within our district, our science coach has also done some great work collaborating with Los Altos School District and Mountain View Los Altos High School, working with their coaches as well to align the science practices and make sure that we're all on the same page. And they've really focused on those science and engineering practices and how to assess with these new, very interesting and engaging standards. All right, so a few things to consider. I think every time I share with you some content information, I share with you the same things to consider. We have a lot going on for teachers, a lot of new things to learn, a lot of new curriculum and new standards. And so it's something to think about when we talk about professional learning and capacity to learn all of those things at one time. We know that we do need professional learning. We do know that we need to really engage in these new science standards, and we do know we need to be very strategic in choosing what we offer for professional development, and really planning very carefully next year how we're going to really dig into that science and technology for years to come. So next steps for us is to really focus next year on looking at different elementary models in particular and developing that great plan moving forward for our science and technology programs. We do have an amazing opportunity for next year for some of our teachers to engage in the WIPRO Science Grant through Stanford University, where some teachers will be able to go and do professional learning and become teacher leaders in our district, bringing back that engaging information about NGSS science and lesson planning to other teachers within our district. And then, of course, we will be looking at curriculum when that comes to be available. We'll be looking at curriculum in 2019-20, and of course, following the guidelines of the state and our district to make sure that we have teams to really look at all of those science standards and do a great job of selecting curriculum that will really support the good work coming ahead in our science programming. And that is it for me. Can I answer any questions for you?
Trustee Gutierrez?
Thank you, Madam President. Okay. The slide that's right before middle school science, would we be able to go back to that slide? It says elementary programming.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
So just for the record, we set our questions in ahead of time. And I think Dr. Rudolph had mentioned that our new standard practice is to then have the answers to the questions that we posed be made publicly available, I believe, through our website. So one of the questions I forgot to write about or ask you was about this slide. Now, when you look at the slide, it covers mostly all the schools except Therikoff. Where are we with Therikoff?
Therikoff will be engaging in some next generation science learning in the upcoming year.
Will we be able to amend the presentation to have that also be included since it's not written here, or did I miss it?
I suppose I could. Sure, I could include that in the presentation.
I'm just wondering because I don't want any parents to think, well, we're not being included in this. Why? That's all. So thank you. Thank you for your.
I will not. I
understanding.
did not intend to make it seem that we forgot about Therikoff.
Okay.
No, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Madam President Blakely.
Were there any members of the public that wish to comment on this? You need to fill out a card, but why don't you speak and then fill out the card? You have 3 minutes. And state your name for the record.
This is Stephanie Spade. And I was just follow up to Trustee Gutierrez's comment about the new process with questions. I'm just curious, is there any way for the public to know what the questions are that you've asked? Is my understanding that you send those ahead of time and then they're answered within the presentation?
We receive written answers, and I think we're still working out the kinks of how that gets published.
Well, we did agree as a board to publish them.
We did.
But we only got the answers this afternoon.
And
so we don't have that sort of turnaround.
This was a compressed week, given the fact that last week was a short or a holiday week, and then the agenda didn't get published until Monday. Usually it's the Friday the week before, and everything's been kind of compressed this week.
But still with us, we're going to work on translating it. So it's going to delay the publishing of those. Otherwise, we would just put them up in English.
Is it possible to just put them up in English and then have the Spanish translations follow?
We could.
Just to not delay.
We could. At the end of the day, it probably wouldn't be until Friday when they get posted anyway.
Okay.
Because our typical turnaround is that you would, by the time you get it, it's Wednesday. We then have to send it out to a translator. or we have to do it internally. So that's another day turnaround, and then it gets uploaded. So by Friday at the latest, it'll be up there.
And bear in mind, we went through this the last board session. So the process has been there for everyone to understand for years. And what we discussed at the last meeting, I believe you were here as well, is that basically when this question came up to the board, and it's on video as well for reference, the process is fairly simple. Once the agenda has been publicized, we send in our questions by 4 o'clock on a Tuesday, the Tuesday prior to the board meeting. Then the responses are given to us today. That's the timeline, and that's what you're referring to as far as I understand, Dr. Rudolph?
Well, normally they come back on Wednesday unless it takes us a little bit extra time. So if they come in by Tuesday, we get them back to you by Wednesday. But this week, because it was a compressed week and the board agenda didn't get out,
right?
We weren't able to get back to you until today.
Yeah,
And
so
I think
I misspoke
once in
on
a
that
while,
one,
it's been Thursday, but it's always been in advance of the meeting.
Right.
So I don't want to, sometimes things are so busy that you just couldn't get them done. But they're usually by Thursday morning if we don't have them by Wednesday.
And where are the questions posted? They're on the website?
We haven't posted them historically.
We've never said that. This is a new process based from the last meeting where it was suggested by the board member to the board members from the members of the community. And I'll refer you back to the video when it was asked of us, hey, can you make these questions be made available? We then said, yes, we like that idea. Let's make it available. And here's the timeline. So now I'm explaining to you in a nice way what the timeline is and then what the expectations are, which I understand where you're getting to. But at this point in time, what I'm hearing is that if we do a translation in Spanish, it might be delayed a little more. It's not that we don't want to share the information with the public, but eventually we'll be able to do that. And then I'm sure you'll let us know either at the next meeting or through an email blast, where exactly on the website will this information be made available so that you yourself can review them in case you have questions about what the questions we posed.
That'd be great.
We're working the kinks out.
It'll be on the same page as the board minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, good idea.
Thanks.
Thank you. Were there any other questions or comments, trustee, on the next generation science standards?
Yes. I
Trustee
have a question.
Colorado?
Ms. Vickford, I believe it to be the case that some of our teachers in our district took part in a STEAM practicum. I think does Bullis Charter have a STEAM practicum, and some of our teachers went to that. That didn't play a role in this presentation, correct?
That didn't play a role in this presentation, that is true. And I believe some of our teachers participated over the summer. And in my slide here, it was really just the PD that has taken place during the school year that people have engaged in. But I will absolutely make note of that as well.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So then I'll direct a question to the superintendent. I'd be interested in hearing more about what those teachers, what I heard was that they really enjoyed this program and that it helped with their ability to do project-based learning and specifically kind of science-oriented project-based learning. I think it was at Huff. I'd be interested in hearing from them and how that plays into what we plan for our, working out our plan for science in the district. So I might be interested in having them come and speak, present to the board something about what they learned in that program.
So I'm looking at Mr. Chang, because it would be our
Hey,
teachers.
yeah, Principal Chang.
So
You know all about that.
I'll get in touch with him about doing a presentation.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments, trustees? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the Early Language Learning Safety Net for English Learners update. And I believe Ms. Smith is presenting on this.
Good evening, board, colleagues, and community stakeholders. Tonight, again, we will update the progress on some work we've been talking about for a while, but very important work. Let's see, I think I went past, okay. So why is this work something that we're engaging in? One, it's in our strategic plan. We said we would do it. We came together as a community, and we said it was important to be more proactive with the learning of our English learners at the early literacy levels. And what we do know, and that data point for us is about our long-term English language learners, over 70%, right, have been with us since kindergarten. So it is time for us to seize that opportunity. And again, why do it? Because we said we would, and it's aligned to our plan. The other reason why we've come to this point is because the board, you have said this is important. This is important for our students and families, and we need you and our district to focus on this. The piece also from the board direction was that we want that to start this summer. So when you take a look at the strategic plan, the time we've had to plan, it is time to implement. So let's talk about how did we design, because that's where we left off. So we engaged in quite a few model design action steps, even though it's reflected there that there were some SEAL visits, right? So we evaluated many models. There were reports about that. We actually really had been looking at SEAL since 2000, the year prior, 16, 17. But we did engage in visits when I came on board last year with the Board of Trustees, and we saw some elements, right, in those classrooms that we felt we wanted in Mountain View Wisman, that we also identified as engaging strategies for young learners, right? And it also seemed to create a cohesive feel among teachers at the sites that we saw. So those are some of the pieces that we considered when designing our own model. And we wanted to keep that at the forefront, the realia, right? Bringing in those real life pieces, science-based, lots of vocabulary, right? Everywhere, almost a room that comes alive. And then our specific learner needs task force group continued, and we splintered off. That group looked at those options, and we identified the GLAD design, the guided language acquisition, which was also part of our observations, and the SIOP protocol, which is an implementation this year, also part of what we saw in classrooms that we thought worked as well. Continued steps was that at that point, once those pieces were considered and we captured what we wanted, it was time to hand the work off to our district staff and to teachers to begin to create our own model. We included additional research of best practices. We engaged with Foothill Early Learning, so they support our Stretch to Kindergarten program. And being that this is early learning, we needed those partners. The Ed Services team had wonderful sessions with Foothill, Ms. Vic Jord, Cindy Lundberg, who you'll hear this evening, and Arlene Siam and Kathy Bauer. Was nice. It was really a good full team effort. We also examined literacy through science parent workshops providers as well. What we do know about second language learners is that they do learn best through the technical subject areas and science. So that is also a piece that we felt should be a part of our program that we get to build. And also looking at professional learning modules and integrating next generation science standards. So I don't know if the board recalls a turtle, right, infographic from our state of California, right? But we created our own. So we were really excited about that. And instead of a turtle, we're going to call this an inclusive triad of support for our early learning language kiddos. So that turtle refers to the ELD, ELA framework. So we've created our own. We're proud of it. If you look at that green ring, it's the focus of bringing the community in, right? This is not just going to be a one-shot deal, right? A summer class, we're engaging the whole community and the parents, and you'll see how. The triad, if you look at those corners of the triangle, will be science content and hands-on learning, right? Some of the elements we wanted. The other piece to the left is English language development, which is a focus through GLAD, SIOP, California ELD standards. And finally, the corner to the right of the triangle is foundational literacy skills. What we also know about our at-risk children is that the data showed us that the at-risk students were far below their peers in reading. And that has also been a board expressed concern for us to address. So we kind of incorporated those pieces. So what are the goals? There's goals for teachers and staff, and there are goals for our students. The goals for teachers and staff is to provide an opportunity for professional development, right? A learning lab opportunity where teachers can practice, receive coaching, and also see the effects on students in real time during the summertime. Also for students, we want to target our underperforming students. We want to close the achievement gap. We do want to work on the early literacy, as mentioned in the strategic plan, but we decided to make this K-6. So our entire summer program will now be this. And the reason why we did that is because we recognize upper learning language and literacy gaps. So one of our English learners could be in 5th grade, but they're 2, 3, maybe 4 years behind. So we're including everyone. So the components, again, there's something in it for everyone. Teachers, we talked about building capacity, right? Also our leaders, so the principals selected for this program, myself, directors, and Ed Services team will learn. We get exposure to NGSS. We're integrating technology using Science A to Z. Another highlight is that this summer program will include 2 parenting workshops. So that whole inclusive circle around our triad, we're including the workshops. One will be hands-on science and the other one will be a literacy night. So all of the components that we want, and continuing in the wraparound piece that Parent University also has continued to promote. Also a culminating science fair, so students should be able to produce, and we're really excited about that and what that looks like. And more importantly, we would love to develop our students' skills, right? In the area of language, literacy, hands-on science, and maybe at the same time, have some fun and engage them, make them excited to go back to school in the fall. Some things for us to think about. What are the constraints, right? When you're building a model, Ms. McJord mentioned, you know, all of the considerations that we have. How many staff development days do we have? They are limited. We are still implementing SIOP. We have other pieces that we're layering in. There's only a limited number of teachers that we can put in the classroom, right? So not every teacher will be trained. Can we sustain this summer training and learning, right? So our teachers have that, but what will happen throughout the year? Still looking at the upper grade learning gaps and, you know, do kids really want to be in school in the summer, right? Combating that engagement piece. So we felt we need to meet the needs. Let's use this as a summer learning opportunity. Shift the science content. Formerly, our summer programs have focused on English, language arts, and math. But we felt we would like to make this exciting and hands-on through science and learning language and literacy through that content area. Again, expanding the program will help us meet those upper grade gaps. And then, even though this is a summer program, coaching will continue throughout the year for participating teachers. And we are hoping to recruit new cohorts of teachers each year. And that way we'll expand our reach of supporting the capacity of our teachers. What are our next steps? Thinking about building capacity of non-participating teachers, we look forward to working with our professional development committee. It was created for that purpose, so we're excited about the outcomes for that. And also, it's always this piece, how do we evaluate the effectiveness of a program? If what we did made an impact on student achievement, but also on teacher capacity and parent engagement. So we're going to research further. We don't yet have an answer for that.
Any clarifying questions, trustees?
Thank you.
Ms. Smith. Heidi.
Yes.
Hey, it's Jose. How are you?
Oh, okay.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's all right. I'm sorry. Hey, so I have a couple questions. They're under the model goals. I think it's 8, slide 8. The first bullet. Once you get there, I'll keep going. There we go.
That one. Oops.
Yes, the first bullet, targeted underperforming English learner students in grades K-6 with a focus on preventing summer learning loss and closing language gaps and literacy through science. And this is the first time we're going to endeavor in this type of program, as I understand it. So my question goes to outreach, distribution of information, getting the community involved to know about this as soon as possible. Is there a timeline as to when you plan to launch and then spread the word out either through the SCEFs or the principals or what have you, the newsletters. And that's question one.
And I'm just looking at Ms.
Sure,
Bauer
sure.
because we're following the traditional timeline of our summer schools and we're working on those pieces, but we would definitely use our SCEFs
Sure.
when we are ready. Okay.
Go ahead. Wonderful. So here's my second question then. In terms of this type of student, for the most part, the historical trend sometimes I know is that a lot of the students actually aren't around. I don't want to say like, I can't give you a percentage, but I know there's a big amount that go back to visit. So if
They go back to, I couldn't hear. what
they
you
go
said.
back to visit
Family members.
family members
Okay.
not here in the States. So I'm afraid that maybe the outreach, it's going to be there, but I don't know that everyone's going to take advantage of it for whatever reason. So here's my question. If this doesn't work as well as expected in the summer, is there a backup plan to try and incorporate this sometime within the school day during the school year, or to look at it as a possible after school type of program? Or have we thought about those things in general, or are we just going step by step and seeing what happens in the summer?
Well, actually, a part of the full plan is that the participating teachers will use the strategies throughout the year in their home sites, in their classrooms. So I might be a student that traveled, but I might be lucky enough to have one of the teachers who was trained over the summer and then will continue to get the coaching throughout the year.
Thank you.
We also are going to be using the lessons that are developed here and to create a repository for all teachers so that our elementary teachers can pull those and use those lessons in units in their science classes, even if they don't go through this.
Thank you so much.
I have a clarifying question, and it may be a little bit silly because I don't know a lot about summer programs, but is this an additional assignment for a teacher? Because it sounds like you have to recruit them. So this is an additional, I mean, obviously it's an additional workload, but how do you go about recruiting people for that additional assignment?
Well, it's definitely voluntary, right? And compensated.
Right. So that's a good draw.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
You know,
Do you ever have
And they get to
rotational
collaborate with
staffing?
their peers. It's something different. It's exciting. And hopefully it'll make their work throughout the year a little easier or different with English language learners and all students. So
Is there ever a challenge staffing it? Or?
I think summer school is always a challenge, but I have to say that Cindy Lundberg has done a wonderful job of that piece, promoting it. She's got a lot of charisma, and I think she's got everybody excited about this. So I think staffing this year is pretty solid right now.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other clarifying questions, trustees? I know we have one member of the public, Holly Leonard, wanted to speak on this, and she was looking at the constraint slide, district inclusive school percentage. I'm not sure. Yeah,
Yes.
please. Sorry. And say your name. Oh, it's right after what are things to think about. Okay, good, you got it.
Thank you. My questions
Holly, can
are
you speak
pertaining
into
to.
Speak into the microphone.
For the people at home.
For the people at home. Thanks. Okay, my question is, in the constraints with the number of teachers being trained, is this open to all teachers throughout the district? Is it certain schools that are offered? Is it a limited amount of teachers per school that can sign up? Do we know any of those questions? Oh, good.
So this is grades K through 6. We have 2 classes on each grade level. There'll be 11 classrooms. And first grade through 6. And in our first grade classrooms, 2 teachers get the opportunity because there are little ones. We thought that would be an effective model. So 13 staff members, we have room. It is open to the entire district. It is not exclusive to school site. And again, it is voluntary. So those folks who want to do that and compensated. But I like your question too. So I think us tracking what school sites, right, engage will be a part of that follow-up reporting. Hopefully that answers your question.
It does.
Okay.
I have another one. Are any of the funds for this come out of Title I, or is it all district? Is it per school?
Both Therakoff and Castro run their own summer school program. This is the district ran program. So we're not using any of the Title I funds.
So this is district funded. Dr. Clark gave a presentation, and there was a line item for this as far as budgeting for multiple years.
Thank you. Trustees, any additional comments or questions for Ms. Smith? Okay, thank you. I'm excited about this program.
Ooh, we have a community.
Madam President?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Afterwards, that's fine, but just please state your name.
My name is Devin Conley, and I'm speaking as an individual, even though I'm associated with some other outside organizations. I have been following the district's work with English language learners all year, and I'm really invested in the outcomes for all of our students, especially low-income Spanish-speaking students in the district. The 2015 review of the district and schools found that English language curriculum across the district and English language development was really lacking, that there was no consistent curriculum. And what I've seen this year is a move to change the reclassification process so it's a little bit easier to reclassify, a change in the school site goals, which focuses only on at-risk long-term English learners. And in elementary schools, that's just 5th grade students and is not including the rest of students in lower grades. And then the discussion about this program originally was focused on a safety net for K-3 students so they would not become long-term ELs. This program in the summer is not achieving that goal. I'm really concerned that our English learners in K-3 are not going to be delivered a consistent curriculum as was set forth in the strategic plan and was noticed very obviously in the report that was done in 2015. This program has moved further and further away from addressing those students in the classroom every day with their classroom teachers and having a consistent curriculum. SIOP is geared towards upper grades. It's great, I have no problem with it, but you guys turned down GLAD, you turned down SEAL, you don't have an actual curriculum that you're implementing in those early grades, and I'm really worried about our English learners in those grades. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Oh.
Hi, I just want to comment. I went to the meeting.
Please state your name first.
Maribel. I went to the meeting to Los Altos, Mountain View, to Los Altos district, and they was talking about the English learning, and it's very sad because they say Alakis, even they reclassify over here in this district. When they go to Los Altos or Alta Vista or Mountain View, they're not really rich his vocabulary. He's very poor, and it's very sad how for so many years it's changing, and nothing is worse. So we need to, I know in summer, like they will say they want to do something, but like Ms. Gutierrez say, if Alakis go to Mexico, whatever part, and they're not here. But another thing is the facilitators talking more close to the parent, and they told them how important in long terms is very important his kids get a vocabulary and everything. Now the thing is not, oh, just want to reclassify. The thing is keep it reaching the vocabulary and make it goals. Because at the end, we don't want to see now what happened in Mountain View, Los Altos district. They are talking about our kids, they're not doing well. Our kids, they are not taking AP class. Only from this year, the only 1% of kids, they took an AP class. And that's very sad. Our kids, they are not taking AP class. Why? We need to ask why our kids not taking class on high school. Something is wrong here because our kids, when they go to one children from Grant or Creighton, then they go with A, there's not the same A the kids go to Egan, and that's very sad. I heard in different places, and you need to work in more for our kids because our Latino community is very huge, and sometimes it's tired to hear because they are poor. I don't think so. Is that really that? We need to find out the best for our kids. We need to not our kids get a child in high school to ask, I don't know this word, I don't know this vocabulary. So we need to think in like our community, and I'm really happy to enjoy more Latino parents to be like working with all of you guys and be like a teamwork, because I know it's not only you guys the responsibility, our parents also a responsibility, but sometimes if you tell them, the parents are going to listen, but if you don't tell them, they don't know. Summer program is good, but it's not enough. And another point, I know it's my time now, but my daughter went to summer, and other kids, they're going to be more hard labor than her in the school. And they went in the summer at Stanford or Valdez, they was way behind. And it's very sad because the kids, they was very sad. Why I have 4.0, 4 point in my paper in the school, and why when I come in here, I went to the below level, and that's very sad.
This is definitely something that we are committed to working on. That's why it's in the strategic plan, and that's why we're trying a variety of strategies, but the board has placed a goal on solving this problem because it's perennial. It's gone on too long, and I think everybody here probably agrees with that.
I hope
So
that
thank you
one
for your
can
comments.
finish soon because it's very sad for many years, 10 or more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if I can chime in, so this is one of the talking points that we had as a board during our retreat, but even before then, when some of us ran for the board seats in general, I've mentioned this time and time again, people don't like it when I say it, but I say it anyways. The district has lagged in how they treat English language learners, in my opinion. We're 10 years behind. And you see that because there's no uniformity in how you approach the early educational needs of the children. Reclassification during my first year, we changed the standards not to make them easier, but to be more realistic about what reclassification represented. When our kids then in that first year reclassified, the number was the highest ever in the district in a number of years. As far as I know, those kiddos who have been able to reclassify are not only holding their own, but they're exceeding expectations throughout the district. The problem, though, I think is, and I think one of the speakers said it here, there is no early child education backup plan. That's why I had pushed for SEAL. That's why I had talked about GLAD. You get different perspectives from different peoples. So now the onus is on the district and on the board to be able to figure out how are we going to address this issue, because if we are turning down those types of programs for whatever reason, then we have to come up with a homegrown approach of how you complement SIOP. And that's something that I've been talking about for a while as well. So when you look at these things that come slowly but surely, this is the frustrating part. We should have had this a while back.
But
now what we're doing is we're trying to figure out if it wasn't done, how can we address it and where do we begin? Because we know that it has to be addressed and things have to change because they have to, right? And so when you look at the plan as a whole, immediately you get frustrated because you think, I'm not going to see the results now. And that's where the time kicks in. It may not be when our children are still here. It may be the next wave. And that's what hurts because then they'll move on and they may not be ready. But if you go back to how you look at how we approach these things, now you have something here for the summer. Then you're trying to figure out what you do early on with K through 3. Then you have SIOP to take care of the older grade levels and ages of the students. And then finally, you have to look at also how the school district is now managing after school intervention. Right here at Graham a couple of years ago, we didn't have after school tutorials for any type of student. Now we do. And the push from the board and from the district, and they've been doing this as best as they can, is to have those offerings. So when you factor all those things in, those are items that we didn't have in the past, now we do, and now we have to build off of that. So that's my 2 cents worth.
And I would just add, unfortunately, it does take time. And, you know, we probably wasted a lot of years historically, but that's why the board has a goal of having the kids, you know, graduate our board goal that we talked about at our last meeting of 80% of the students being proficient in 5 years, 6 years, K to 5. We'd like it to be sooner, but it takes time. But we do appreciate your comments and your concern, and you know, we got to keep fighting the good fight. So thank you. Any other comments, trustees?
I'd like to make one more pitch, and Maribel mentioned it, and I know Trustee Gutierrez references it often, and so does Trustee Wilson. Parent involvement, parent education. So part of the component of Ms. Smith's presentation was utilizing the Foothill Family Engagement Institute, and they have a lot of expertise and knowledge to share with us, and they're enthusiastic about sharing that with us. So, and then, you know, very involved parents, DLAC and ELAC parents like Maribel, we need involved parents and parents who want to learn how to do a better job and provide resources for those parents.
Yeah, I think the consistency is important. We see the same group of people come in from the Latino community, and they share their ideas with the board, and we respect that so much. But we need to see the younger parents of the first graders, the second graders, the third graders, the kindergartners also come in and start to participate. It's that consistency issue that I think sometimes is a challenge for us, because both parents, we work, right? And to pay the rent. It's a little bit different when you have a sole provider and a different type of economic, you know, factors, but that's not an excuse. It just means that we have to be able to address all those types of issues as best as we can, because we're a public educational system, and that's our job. So thank you.
Okay, we probably should keep the meeting moving along, because I know nobody wants to stay past 10. Did you have one more thing?
No, I was going to ask for like a 3-minute bio break.
Okay, let's take a 3-minute bio break at 9:12. Try to be back by 9:15.
Like, I hear that in Germany they don't even want to start anything until
Finland's saying they don't charge until 7.
How come they don't auction? How come they don't call for now?
They get more time to. I think they're on science and physics. They play with rocks and sticks.
So why can't we do that?
Well, we could if we didn't want to teach them a different mindset.
They'll speak Spanish.
Or 2 languages.
I'm gonna grab my water. Out the car.
Oh yeah, I sent him the next email. And I let Shelly know. I said he's gonna be here.
He was on the EPC.
Okay, I wanted her to know. She's like, that's good to know. He was the guy who started.
He was definitely pushing hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the face of it.
I know.
I mean, like, we were talking about it, and I'd be like, where do you go?
You do it, yeah.
You know, he's been in the community for decades.
Yeah.
And I had just like moved there.
Well, but then he was just like, they're not listening. So then we got a new fresh energized crew. Next Thursday, we'll demonstrate.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to take a lot. I'm okay.
I know, I'm like, what's going on? I'm just trying not to hack them along here.
Oh, no. Last time we missed something. You were back in 3 minutes. Good timing. I kept thinking I should just leave this. So Jose is here. Oh, he is. Oh, I was looking for him. And where's Greg? Feet are really good. I love it. So I'm just going to introduce you. Go sit down.
To kind of work since I've been presentation. Yeah. So I feel like I'm going to drop into
Kathy's got to do your RTI. Is it not opening? That's not good.
Oh, that would be sad.
The Warriors one.
Oh, they did.
So I think we can get started.
I think we should start with Trustee Caldonado. I'm not sure where he is.
And we'll dock him $1 if he goes past. Okay. Is there good?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there you are. I was just texting you that we were starting without you.
Okay.
At 9:18, the meeting is starting, reconvening. And we have the response to instruction update by Ms. Lundberg and Ms. Victor.
All right, good evening, and I am actually only here to introduce Cindy. I wanted to just take a moment to officially welcome her to the board meeting and introduce Cindy Lundberg. She is our Educational Services Coordinator, and one of her primary roles is the oversight of our RTI program, and I'm thrilled to have her here and very excited to turn over the podium to her and let her present our RTI update tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. That's awesome. Hello, everyone. I'm Cindy Lundberg, and I am thrilled to be here tonight. I have been so fortunate and honored to have got to work this whole past year with our elementary school sites with their RTI programs. It's just been an absolute thrill. I know that we have a tight time frame, so I'm just going to get on with it and get moving through the slides. Our RTI program right now is K-5. In the coming year, we're going to get our middle school involved, but right now it's K-5. And like the others, this is part of our strategic plan, goal number 1.3, where we are going to implement a multi-tiered system of support. And that multi-tiered system of support is going to be our RTI program. And this quote says it very nicely in bold there. Research confirms that RTI is the best way to intervene. So we're very excited about developing a program with RTI. Okay, next slide. So one thing we know is that all of our kids are very different, right? They learn different, they act different. Some learn quickly, some learn slowly. So we have to be able to address the needs of all of our children. So that's why we're digging into the response to instruction. We also know that unless we decide on something that has structure and a process, oftentimes it can be scattered. So having a specific structure and a process is also very important to see forward progress happening. And as we've been discussing before, we also, did I go one slide? Nope, that's right side. Our focus for our RTI is literacy. We know that it is very important. Literacy is important for all subjects. If they don't have that, it's hard for them to move forward with any of them. So all of our sites are focused on literacy in some fashion. And the neat thing about our RTI program is that each site was able to develop their own specific plan that addressed the specific needs of their sites. We know that our elementaries are all very different and they have different needs. So each site has a very specific plan that addresses the needs of their students. Every site was trained with the data protocol, so they all learned how to look deeper at data and use data to drive instruction and to group and to make decisions, instructional decisions. We know that collaboration is important, and through this RTI process, we learned how vitally important. It's very key that the teachers are working together and making decisions that best meet the needs of the kids. So collaboration has become very, very important. And this year we developed an RTI handbook that also has a framework for teachers' resource for support and instruction, and also looking at the different models and the research behind RTI. Let's go ahead and take a look at our current programming. So all the sites have additional RTI teachers to help with instruction. The sites make decisions on their RTI learning cycles. They make decisions on course standards. They make decisions on the length of their cycle. They make decisions on the assessments they're going to use to reach those. And they also make decisions on the criteria for grouping the kids. We have basically two models. Sorry. We have basically two models for our RTI. One of them we call our science model, and the other one is our literacy model. So I'm going to explain those for just a little bit here. So the science model, let's take a fourth grade, for example. We've got an RTI science teacher who teaches very focused science lessons, and we have 3 fourth grade teachers. The fourth grade teachers and the science teacher get together and decide who they're going to send, what students they're going to send to get a science lesson. While those kids are getting a science lesson, the rest of the kids in that fourth grade classroom are divided based on data and are either getting enrichment or intervention or whatever their needs are. Then the next day, they flip-flop. So the ones who got the science are getting specific focused instruction, either intervention or extension, and the other kids are getting their science. That's basically what our science models look like. And our intervention or our literacy models is we've got an extra RTI teacher for every grade level, so that when they divide the kids up, they've got additional people to divide them between, and the class and the sizes are smaller. So the smallest groups get the most focused attention. So that's what our models look like. In addition to those models, we have monthly RTI meetings with all the RTI teachers. And we also do site walkthroughs with the principals and the coaches, and we debrief afterwards and talk about what support do we need for them, what do we need to do, what did we see. So we're all in this together and we're helping support each other. This is a graph of basically what I just told you by site. When do they assess? How do they assess? What do they assess? And then how frequently do they regroup? A couple of things I just want to note here is that data is the driving force for every decision that they're making, for the grouping and for the planning. And I also want to mention that the groups are fluid. So let's say, for example, it's not to the 6 weeks yet, but this kid's already mastered what he needs to do. He's not going to sit in that group all that time. He will get moved by a teacher's recommendation, either up or down, depending on whatever needs to be done. So the groups are all fluid, even though they have specific times when they regroup the whole grade level. Let's take a look at what the data is telling us about RTI. We have two kinds of data, or two specific pieces of data I want to talk about. They are district benchmarks that we do, trimester 1, trimester 2, and something we call Literally. I'll say a little bit about that in just a minute. The benchmark for first and second grade is specific to the standards that are taught in that grade level. And then for third, fourth, and fifth, it's for the standards for the whole year. So just so you know that. You actually have seen these slides before. I'll tell that in just a minute. I forgot about this slide. So Hanover did a research study for us. And one of the findings that they had was that they suggested that it was really important to have a standardized assessment so that when you're looking at data, you have something common to compare to. And that's why we were really intentional about making sure that we had benchmarks and Literally to compare with. So you may have seen these slides before because this was done with the language arts benchmark when the language arts assessment was, or presentation was done. This is first grade, and it's T1 to T2 in all the different school sites. Here's second grade, same thing, T1 to T2. You can see some growth there. Here's third grade. Nice looking growth there. And fourth grade. Another nice shot. And here's fifth grade. Okay, so now let's take a look at some Literally data. I just want to explain to you a little bit about what Literally is. It Literally is our online reading assessment that we do. It gives us data in reading fluency, comprehension, and accuracy. So it's a nice piece of data to have, but it is just for reading. Okay, so I'm going to show you first grade first. Here we go. Now, the interesting thing about first grade is that, number one, it's the first year these little bunnies are taking an online assessment. So that can alter scores a little bit. But I also want to tell you that in first grade, it has the greatest significant reading progression. So they come in reading at about a level 4, but by the end of first grade, they have to be reading at about a level 18. So that's a lot of jumps to make in a year. The teachers really have to work very hard on literacy in those early years for them. So both kindergarten and first grade, it's a big commitment. So here's second grade. Again, it's T1 to T2 in their Literally score. Here's third grade. And see some good jumps there. Here's fourth grade. It's a nice looking slide. Here's fifth grade. And this last slide, I wanted to take a look at how we did versus last year in Literally in T2. So this one actually is first through fifth grade, T2 to T2. So T2 last year to T2 this year in their reading scores. So we see that we're actually doing better in Literally than we were last year at this time. Okay, things to consider.
I just want to point out that means that more kids are reading on grade level. So when
if you go back just one slide, what she's showing you is that since the introduction of RTI, we're seeing an increase in the number of kids who are reading on grade level, which also will, for our EL students, will correlate to an increase of students who will get reclassified, because literally is one of the assessments that we can use as a reclassification measure, because it is about reading on grade level.
Thank you. All right, and some things to consider. First, we know that reading is a very essential part of this process. They can't access some of the other language ELA standards or even standards in other content area without their reading. So we know that that's really important. So that's something that we were making sure to keep our eyes on. Also, as you can see by the bullets here, that all of our sites are at different stages of implementation. So that's something to consider, and we're happy to add our middle school to our RTI program starting in the fall. So this is not a quick fix. RTI is a long-term strategy that we will continue to grow and develop over years. Castro's in their 4th year right now, and it's really great to see the progressions that they have made and the work that they've done. But this is the kind of thing where it's continuous learning, building, and growing. So I want to talk a little bit about some successes. Well, first, I'll tell you, when I first started going around to all the sites, I was truly amazed that all of our elementary schools have got their RTI program up and running. They've got the schedules going, they got the teachers trained, they got the kids shuffled around. All of that just, it's a lot of work on the teachers, on the principals, on the kids, on everyone supporting them. But I just want to celebrate all of our school sites who got up and running, and it was really, really amazing to see. I'm very proud to be a part of a district that's got that going to this year. Also, we saw some strong gains, 2nd grade through 5th grade in our benchmarks. So that's a really good sign that something's working. Something's working with our intervention and our support for the kids that need a little more time, or the kids who already know this. And then we also had some strong growth in 3rd and 4th grade in Literably, which was really nice to see, because that's where that reading to learn happens versus learning to read. So it was really nice to see that the growth is happening there. And along with the successes, we always want to think about our opportunities for improvement. And I mentioned it a little bit earlier, we really got to make sure we're supporting our primary teachers, K1 and 2, with their literacy, because that foundation in literacy is so important. And so that's one of the areas we want to focus on. We noticed that some schools had a little bit too broad of a core standard focus. When we narrow it down and really laser light focus on stuff, that's going to help us as well. We want to identify the correct data to be collecting that's really going to inform our decisions. And we also want to identify material that's going to work for extending for our learners, and also for supporting them if they need to see it another way. And then lastly, always want to be looking at the rigor of the instruction happening in RTI, because it's so focused, and kids are in a specific group for a specific reason, and we want to make sure that the instruction there is very rigorous for them, so we see those growths happening. So based on all this, we got some next steps. So we want to provide professional development and digging deeper into that data so we really can analyze those things. We also want to explore parts of our curriculum that we're not using as our core instruction, but there are other components that we could be looking at to use for extension and for reteaching. And we want to welcome middle school to the RTI team here, and make sure that we're supporting them as they're going to need it in this upcoming year. And then we also talked about each school site has a specific plan, but we want to be able to measure growth. So we want to set some common parameters so that we can measure growth by each site, so we can take a look at what's happening there and we can learn and grow from it. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Clarifying questions, trustees? Any members of the public wishing to speak on?
I have a question. I'm sorry. So,
And let's try to keep it tight because we don't want to go
yeah,
past
no,
10.
that's a given, but question's a question. So in this case, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but this is for me important. I know that Castro has done fairly well in the last few years. There's been a lot of investment of money there and in other schools. But when I still look at the test results for first grade, Castro's is low. And
Can we put that slide back up?
yeah, and when you look at Castro for second grade, they're still low, along with Therakov. Then you look at third grade, they're still low. Fourth grade, there's a little bit of a jump. And
The
this
reading
is where,
or-
well, I'm not done.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. So I just wanted to point out that sometimes this is when you hear, and I can't speak to Greg's point exactly, but when you hear Greg and I say that we want to see the changes happen earlier, I think that's why, right? Because I would like to see whatever we have in fourth grade and fifth grade actually be what you see first, second, and third. So I don't know why that looks the way it does, but when we see that, or when I see that, or parents see that, I think they need to know, why is that happening? So I'd appreciate some sort of clarification on why those numbers look the way they do.
Okay. Specifically at Castro or?
Yeah, just Castro,
Okay.
because when you look at the slides there, I mean, the numbers are pretty evident.
You're looking at the overall level and not the improvement.
Yeah.
Not the growth from the blue to the orange
I'm
bars.
I'm just looking at what's presented to me as a whole, because either one is still.
Neither metric is good on this chart.
Yeah. Right.
It's not growth.
The first grade in all of them is low.
Well, but
No, I mean, look at Castro. Look at first grade and look at Castro. Compare that with everybody else.
yeah.
So one of the other things I wanted to mention about first grade, that not only is it the first time kids are taking it online, but in first grade, teachers have the option to give the test. It's called a DRA, and that's a one-on-one paper test. So teachers have the option to do that or literally. So you have kind of two tests happening at the same time, and sometimes that skews things a little bit. But I'm happy to look deeper into what's going on at Castro and see if I can get any more data on that.
Thank you.
I also had a question about the reading comparison slide, the one where you had sort of aggregated it.
Literally?
It was your last slide with the bars.
There we go.
Okay, so when you look from, is it fair to look at like the blue bar in one grade and then compare it to the orange bar in the next grade? Because it's when they've graduated, or am I getting this wrong? Is it the same grade? Like the blue bar in first grade.
Oh, it's not,
the
yeah.
orange bar in second grade? No.
No, I don't think so. Would it be?
It is not the same group of children. It's not a cohort.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these
Okay.
are our first graders from last year compared to our first graders
From this year.
But you can look at.
That's what
your-
she's doing, the first from
your
the second.
blue graph and compare it to the next year's orange.
That's what I was doing. And so I'm wondering what happened in fifth grade, where there's there's growth, and then you get to fifth grade and it tumbles. It's lower than the blue in fourth grade is lower
than the orange
it's
in
higher
the
than the orange in the fifth grade.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I just think that's something we probably want to look at too, because that's the last step before they go on to middle school.
Before they
and
go
then-
on, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else, trustees? Members of the public? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So Dr. Rudolph, you are going to be presenting on the name for a new school located on North Westman Road.
Yes. All right, so as I stated earlier, we're going to be doing a groundbreaking on the new school on North Westman Road next week. And eventually this school will need to have a name. And I'm going to talk about the context. So let's go backwards a little bit. So the Board of Trustees.
Can I make a request that because your voice is so gravelly that you maybe hold the microphone up really close to, so that we can. Yeah.
Sure. Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So the Board of Trustees have a goal for us this year to open with the school in North Westman for the 2019-2020 school year. And in doing so, we need to provide a name. And so under Board Policy 7310, there are namings, which includes the need for public input. But it's real specific in terms of what types of names that we can use. So we can use individuals living or deceased, and entities that have made outstanding contributions, including financial contributions to the school community. Individuals living or deceased who have made contributions of statewide, national, worldwide significance, and the geographic area in which a school or building is located. And as you know, previously, board members suggested the name of Jose Antonio Vargas, which is also included. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. So the first thing is, let's be real clear why we can't name it Slater. Slater is an existing building. And so Slater and Wissman Road showed up in our thought exchange process as possible names. Both of those schools actually have CDS codes and are currently leased out. And the best way to describe this is the reason why Stevenson will keep its existing name is because we raised Stevenson campus and we are placing a school right back exactly in the same footprint of Stevenson's campus. In this case, with the new school on North Wissman Road, Slater is actually still existing as a set of buildings and it's leased out to Google. The actual new school on North Wissman Road is on the other side of the campus with a field that divides the two. And because Kenneth Slater still has an existing CDS code, we need to create a new code for this particular school. And I will say, our preschools also will need names too. The last thing I want to say is that regardless of what name is chosen, it will bring an emotional response from the public. And so that's just a part of the way it goes. Okay, so what community input have we received so far? So the first thing we did is we held a community conversation using Thought Exchange. The way that we market it is through the school newsletters, the superintendent newsletter, the website, social media, and then we actually sent out a direct mailing postcard to the 5,000 residents of the Slater neighborhood. We asked them to chime in. And the question that we asked is, as we consider naming our new school, what are the more important attributes and contributions of the potential person or namesake? 320 individuals participated with 7,100 ratings, 373 thoughts that came true. And of those, because it was open to the general public, you can see that 43% of the participants actually came out of the Slater neighborhood. All right, let me repeat, identified themselves as residents within the Slater neighborhood. And so what's really interesting is that regardless of the group, they all wanted a couple of things. So the first one is the name should be reflective of values the school stands for. So we want the school to be inclusive, innovative, and diverse. They want a leader who is authentic and fearless, cares about every individual regardless of race, culture, and religion, a person of good character, a role model for someone who's made a difference in this world, someone that children can admire for their hard work, strength, and accomplishments. And many of the big names in technologies are dropouts. For elementary schools, we should pick a namesake who actually values and encourages education. So I'm not going to knock the value of dropping out of Harvard. It's obviously made a couple people billionaires, but I think that's an important thing. So what was the most important things that sort of came out of this? So community building was the most important quality. Also with respect about diversity and inclusion, those things came up multiple times as we were looking. There is this real notion, regardless of who the respondent was, about diversity, inclusion, and community buildings. And what's interesting is even though we looked at the top thoughts for the people from Slater neighborhood, they did not differ from the individuals who were outside of the Slater neighborhood. And there was a strong support for someone who has had significant success in education. So in the thought exchange, we actually eliminated the names of we hid them from the general public of anyone who publicized the name. So they were not able to star which names they liked the most. So this is actually the first time that we're putting the names up here. So the names that were suggested are Michelle Obama. I don't think that one needs for me to explain who she is. Gail Urban Moore, a former board member who I believe went 400 something meetings straight without missing one. 700, sorry. And she happens to be someone's mom. Yes, Holly. Jose Antonio Vargas, a former Mountain View Westman School District student who is also a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. Grace Hopper, who invented the computer. I'm sorry, I should say Lieutenant Commander Grace Hopper. Barack Obama, former president. And then Ruth Klaus Chance, a philanthropist from California.
These were suggested by respondents or?
These were suggested by respondents, yes. And I will say that this is even though the board suggested Jose Antonio Vargas, he actually was suggested by respondents too. So the first thing we need to do is that we are going to reconvene a focus group and vet names. And so what we will do is we will include the background information of each one of these individuals. Sorry. So we'll include the background information of each one of these individuals. And then we will have them rank the names based off of the qualities that were identified earlier through the thought exchange. Then after we sort of get to a ranking, we will bring back, we'll take out to the community to get their input on the top two names. This will not be a vote. This is us collecting input. What is it that you believe this person embodies in the qualities that were identified? And what are your sort of concerns that you may have? At that point, I will bring a recommendation to the Board of Trustees on May 31st with a decision for the June 14th for action. Now, I want to be clear about this to everyone in the public. At the end of the day, the Board of Trustees has the ability to choose the names that are listed or to select a name that is not listed. So that decision lies with you and no one else.
Did any members of the board have any clarifying questions?
Yeah, I have one. So with community input on the top two names, what you're saying basically is the community will have input in terms of what they think is the best two choices. And that necessarily doesn't mean that we're going to vote on either one. It just means that it's part of the community input process.
Correct. At the board, I will bring back the feedback that we've collected both from the focus group as well as from the community. But the assigning of a name of a school, that power lies and rests with the Board of Trustees. It does not lie with me or the community members. So this will be your decision. And yes, you can choose one of the names that I bring. You can choose one of the names that may have been lower on the rank, or you may introduce a new name and vote on that. That is up to you.
Thank you.
I have another, I'll pose it as a clarifying question. Yeah. There's some very strong contenders in there from
Yes,
my perspective. And aren't we building a new preschool also?
Yes.
I'm wondering if we get a couple of really stellar names, might there be an opportunity to use one for the elementary school at North Westman and perhaps one for the new preschool?
Yeah, we could actually use 3 of these names if you would like for me to expand it. And we could do one for the preschool that is behind the district office, which is currently being called Mountain View Westman Preschool on Montecito. Then there is there's a Mountain View Westman School District Preschool on Latham. And then there is the new school on North Westman. Or you could choose to take 2 names and have both of the names listed as such and such preschool and then have at Montecito and at Latham. So that is definitely an option, and I would definitely encourage it, because the preschool will eventually, I think it's right now it's at 9 different classrooms. So it would be substantially bigger preschool than what we've had in the past, at least in one particular site. And it is a brand new facility.
Thank you. Were there any members of the public wishing to speak on this topic? Holly Leonard, yeah, we'll need a card afterwards, but.
I'm small. Under the community input, what's the process of reaching out to the community for this?
I thought we were going to hear about Gail Urban more.
So, so the first part is for the focus group, which has already been convened. So to go back, we, in the Enrollment Priorities Task Force, we asked for volunteers from every single elementary community. And the individuals who represent the new boundary of Slater volunteered to be part of the focus group for the naming committee. So those 10 individuals will actually serve as the ranking committee of these particular names that are listed. At that point, once they rank them, we will bring the top 2 choices back out, and we will do a thought exchange as well as hold a forum within the Slater neighborhood. If we expand it to the preschool, then we'll expand that and get community input from there. So the thought exchange allows everyone within the community to provide feedback. The actual meetings that are held within the new school on North Westman boundaries that are the old existing Slater boundaries, they will provide feedback, and then I will bring that back to the board to present.
Thank you. Trustees, did anyone else have any comments? Okay, this is exciting. Thank you.
So just a quick question, because you mentioned it. Would you like the preschool to be renamed also so that we can include these?
Sure. Yes.
Yes.
Would you like 3 or 2?
3.
Yeah.
So the one on Castro will have a name. Latham will be named 1. The one on, and they each have to have a separate CDS code, because they all have different addresses. So the Latham will have one, Montecito will have one, and the new school in North Westman will have one.
What about the preschool at Castro?
That's the one on that's the preschool that we call on Latham.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm open to, personally, I'm open to, depending on how strong the names are. I'd be happy to have 2, have one at Montecito and one at Latham, and have it be the same name if it turns out that there's just 2 names that really bubble to the top.
Yeah, I think there are already 2 that have sort of a strong sentiment about them, just based off of a child as well as some community sentiment. So I think there is a strong possibility that we'll have 2 or 3 that we'll be able to name.
One more member of the community wants to speak.
Hi. I'm a little concerned. I don't know if I really understood what you said. Are you saying that the only people who can vote on the name of any of these schools are the local people? So because I don't live there, I can't?
No.
Okay, tell me again. I know it's probably your voice.
It's all good. All right, so the focus group will rank the names.
I got that part.
All right, so the names that we've already collected from the community-wide thought exchange, the focus group will then rank them.
Right.
And then we will take that out and do another thought exchange for the whole city to chime in. Yep, no, and then, but I will hold meetings in the school in North Westman's boundary for that particular school, because those individuals, 2 of whom are sitting over there, I will meet in their particular areas and ask them that for their specific input, because they're going to be attending the school.
And of course, we read our email too. So if, people are always welcome to write with suggestions.
As
We're
well they
running
do.
out of time, but Holly.
Thank you. How much information about all these candidates will the board receive?
So in the board packet that we will send, we will include all the background information about the individuals. We will include the ranking mechanism that we used, and then we will include the feedback that's been collected.
Thank you, Dr. Rudolph.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'm assuming that most board members have or will shortly email their updates in to
Yes.
Ms. Lilga. Any items for future agendas?
That one that came up during the science presentation. So I'm aware that these teachers from Huff presented their findings from their STEAM practicum experience to some other school district. But I see no reason why we wouldn't be at least as interested in their findings. So I'd like to propose that we have them, those same two teachers that presented, come and present to us about what they learned about.
I would support that.
I would too.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. The future board meeting dates are in the agenda, and I would note that on April 28th, we are having a board retreat where one of the topics will be discussion on potential dual immersion program at middle school and dual immersion in general, I believe. So thank you. And at 9:55, the meeting of the Board of Trustees is adjourned.
A miracle.
9:55.
Yeah, well, that's.
And I got here at 6:55. You know about the rule? If you're late, you have to be there for 3 hours. Do you know about this rule? If we adjourned 1 minute earlier,
I
it
was
would've been
hearing
docked
about
half
this.
of
Is that why you?
That's not why I did anything, but it is exactly the minimum 3 hours. I was encouraged.